Hi, my name's Dave, and what you're watching at the moment is the final result of my attempts to make a homemade projector using a magnifying glass. So, just to explain exactly what you're seeing here, this is about a 50-inch screen equivalent in terms of how large this image is. It's been projected onto a white painted wall instead of a projector screen. I'm using high contrast images that I found off YouTube, or a high contrast video I should say, just to make the image as clear as possible. On the other hand, this is recorded on my smartphone off a laptop screen, so the sharpness is going to be reduced slightly because of that. And what's having a bigger effect than that is that the camera that I used to record this video is, well, the camera's okay, but I think the way that I set it up was not perfect. As you can see, it's going in and out of focus a bit. So in order to understand how good this image was, you need to concentrate just on the bits where it comes into relatively good focus. In short, I was quite impressed with how well this worked. Bearing in mind, what you're seeing here is just the results of a smartphone inside a box in front of a magnifying lens out of a magnifying glass. There's nothing else going on here, and it produces this kind of result, which I think is quite impressive. If you want to see how I put it together and a few other things I discovered whilst I was doing it, then watch the rest of the video. Hi, it's me, and this video is how to make a projector with a magnifying glass. If you think that's a slightly strange thing to make a video about, well, it comes off the back of another video I made called How to Make a Projector Without a Magnifying Glass. And the reason why I'm obsessing over the inclusion or otherwise of a magnifying glass is because a lot of people seem to search for that on YouTube, and there are various other videos out there doing the project in one of those two ways. So I just thought, why not? I'll do the same myself and compare the two. My assumption in doing this video was that the image I was going to be able to produce would be better than the one that I got from making a projector using a light bulb and water and not using a machined lens. And that definitely turned out to be correct. In fact, I'm going to start playing a clip round about now showing you what the final result was. If you've watched the previous video and you're thinking these image qualities look fairly similar, that's actually kind of to do with the fact that I'm just a one-man band. I've got very limited filming equipment here, and the camera that I was using probably isn't the best for picking up the differences in output in the dark. Just take my word for it, the image I got from doing this project was noticeably better than the one I got from using the light bulb with the water. The image overall was sharper, and importantly around the edges it was like a wider, more rectangular image, whereas the one created by the light bulb, it was really kind of ragged around the edge. Compared to the first video I made, in this one I did a little bit more experimentation with sort of focal lengths and where I'm placing the phone and that sort of thing. So if you're interested to see, what a difference that makes, then carry on watching. The only other thing to note is that I'm making these videos with a kind of a time limit attached to them, because frankly I've got other stuff I really need to get on with in order to try and grow this business that I'm attempting to build from scratch. If you are interested in having a look at my build from scratch series, so I could have put more time and effort into building this better, doing more experimentation with how it works and trying to make it really, really good. If you are out there thinking I could do a better job, then please give it a go and write to me to let you know you've done it. I'll mention, well, if you could video it, and post it on YouTube. Let me know and I'll link to your video from mine, because it would be great to see someone having a really good crack at this to see how you can optimize the image. Or even if you just do it and want to send me a note about what you've achieved, then I'll find a way of putting your findings into this project. Sorry, that was not a very good way of explaining it, but I think you get what I'm saying. Okay, let's get on with the video itself. Okay, I'll just do a quick bit of commentary over the top of this speeded up footage. This was the lens that I used from a magnifying glass. It's quite old, but it was basically in good condition. You'll need a reasonably sturdy box if you're going to do this. And a few basic tools, a pen there for marking things out. I use a Stanley knife in a second just to do the cutting, and I used some sellotape to stick the lens in place. That is about it though, really. So it's a nice basic project that you'll probably be able to do without stepping out of the house, as long as you can find a reasonable box. What else do you need to know? Oh, one thing is, for some reason I couldn't figure out on my smartphone how to stop the screen rotating. So in a minute you're going to see that I actually record the footage that I want to play on the projector. I record it off my laptop because I was able to physically turn the laptop to orient it the way that I wanted it to be, and then I was able to record it on my phone that way. I am aware that there's a setting on smartphones for stopping the screen auto-rotating. For some reason it didn't work for me, but it probably will for you, so you won't need to deal with that particular challenge. So as you can see, that is the lens in place. And the next step was, I think this is where I start sorting out the footage. Oh well, actually this is me just having a very initial experimentation with where the phone needs to be in order to create what kind of size of image. I determined that it kind of needed to be at the far side of the box, really. In fact, it could have done with being a bit further away, which I think I'm going to explain in the clip coming up in a minute. So this is just me messing about with the laptop, setting it up to record the video. And here you'll note a problem for the first time, which became more annoying when it was time to record the actual end result, which is my camera going in and out of focus. So I've just been doing a quick bit of experimenting, and I've discovered that if you put the phone too close to the lens, I can't tell you how too close is in terms of centimetres. I've just discovered that there is a point past which you can't get the lens to focus on the screen, no matter how far or close, no matter what the distance is between the lens and the screen, it will no longer focus. The best focus I've achieved so far is with the phone up against the opposite cardboard wall to where the lens is, which makes me wonder, now that I know that distance is an issue, if possibly I move the phone further away, I might actually get a better result than what I've been able to achieve so far. So the next step therefore is to cut a section out of the back wall of the projector box, so that I can then have a bit of a play with that. Okay, well this clip doesn't need a lot of explaining, so let's just have some music. Right, I've just done that bit of experimenting, and it's going to take a minute to explain this. So previously I'd determined that you can have the phone so close to the lens that it's no longer possible to create a decent image. What I now know is that if you then move it back to the point where you can create a decent image and work backwards from there, you find that there is a relationship whereby the further the phone is from the lens, let me get this the right way around, the closer the lens needs to be to the screen to get the best quality image. So you move the phone back from the lens and you have to move the lens towards the screen, or vice versa. There's then a further relationship whereby as the distance from the phone to the lens grows, and therefore the distance from the lens to the screen decreases, the size of the projected image decreases, which is fairly intuitive, I suppose. But then also the sharpness of the best possible image you can get increases, I think. I mean, this is based on fairly imperfect experimentation and just what my eye is seeing rather than some kind of technical metric, but that is how it appeared to be. So obviously the inverse is true as well, that if you're moving the phone closer to the lens and therefore you create the best image by moving the lens away from the screen, you naturally have a larger projected image when it's at its best clarity, but that best clarity seems to be maybe a little less good. Okay, I think that's that. Oh, apart from to just mention, the last step now is that I'm just going to tape that back wall of the projector back up so I can put the phone in it, get it to the best focal length. Maybe that's not the right terminology. The best distance away from the wall that suits that length within the box, so that I can show you essentially the best picture that this projector is capable of producing. Okay, so this is the last part of this project, the last part of the video, and what you're looking at right now is the projector working, albeit with a light turned on in the room. So if you look really closely, you can just about make out some white objects moving from left to right and top to bottom, but because of the light being turned on you can barely see them, and that's just to demonstrate how weak the output from a smartphone screen is compared to a proper projector. In a second I'm going to go and turn the light off, and when I do that you will then be able to get a much better idea of how this projector can perform when it's in the dark. The image that it's producing is, I think, about 50 inches across, give or take. So in other words, it's the equivalent size, corner to corner, of a 50-inch TV screen. So this gives you a much better idea of what it's capable of, but do bear in mind that this camera that I was using kept going in and out of focus. It was struggling being in a dark room. So just bear that in mind, and also that the right hand side of the image is a little more blurred than the left hand side. I'm not quite sure why it was doing that. Possibly the lens wasn't quite as good as I thought it was, but certainly the left hand side of the image is what you could hope to achieve if you took a bit more time than I did and set this up more perfectly. So I guess that when people are Googling or searching in YouTube phrases like how to make a projector with or without a magnifying glass, they're doing so because they're potentially interested in actually making a projector for themselves to use as a projector, not just for the fun of it. With the projector that I made using a light bulb, the final result was not good enough to even consider using it as a TV or to use for any kind of entertainment purposes. This one, however, I would say was close to being good enough that if you really wanted to, you could use it as a home projector. So if you fancy doing that, give it a go. I would say try and afford a brand new lens. Don't get your hopes up too much if your smartphone is older or has a smaller screen. I think the bigger and brighter the screen, the better. But apart from those constraints, you may well be able to make yourself a feasible home projector. This final clip is just demonstrating that the projector just then was about 2 meters away from the wall, and the phone inside is about 30 centimeters away from the lens. And that's it. That's the end of the project. I hope you enjoyed it, and maybe we'll try to do an even better version in the future.